original.
Hello, and welcome to Web Crawlers, the podcast where we do a deep dive into some of our favorite mysteries. Each week, we will introduce our topic, lay out our research and findings, reveal some conspiracy theories, and conclude with our own hypothesis. I'm Allie Siegel.
I'm Melissa Stettin.
And I, producer Maria.
Coming to you from Italy.
Italia. Melissa, who are our patrons for this episode?
We've got Ashley, Jonathan, Natalie, Nelly, Erica, Natalie, Mary, Lee, Christine, Emily.
Whoa.
Amazing. Thank you guys for joining the team. I will say one thing about the name Nelly. I watched Dancing with the Stars during quarantine, and Nelly was on the most recent season, and he was? Yes, and he was a delight. I'm not joking. He's a horrible dancer.
I bet he's fun.
But he looked so happy. Like, he looked like he was finally like, you know what?
Go and take a
I don't care what any of my guys say. I'm going to ballroom dance.
I'll tell you what.
And he looked...
I'll tell you what. I met Nelly once.
What?
Tell us everything.
So I grew up, my dad worked on Mad TV growing up. And so when when like a cool guest would be on, it would be like my friends and I would, you know, head on down to the taping.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, Maria, Nelly's coming on.
And he was like, Maria, this was like 2000. This is like 99. I'm going to say this is 99.
Like Country Grammar.
This is prime Nelly. This is Nelly.
If you want to go and take a ride
if I was in Nelly's brain at this time, I would have...
me the money.
Nelly's inner monologue during this time was literally, I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm on top of the world.
It really was.
Yes. Country Grammar's an incredible album.
It's so good.
So we go down to the taping, and I remember I was by the craft service table, and I was on...
Of course.
Yeah, classic.
I don't have to tell you.
If you need to find Maria,
eating some cheese cubes.
craft service is first stop.
And I remember my friends and I were there because from there we were going to go to the school dance that was afterwards. I think we were in 8th grade. We were at the craft service table, and he was there, and I remember he was getting something. I just remember him like moving around and me being introduced to him, and I was like, he's like, hey, how are you? And I was like, yeah, we're going to a school dance after. And he was like, oh, really? Have fun at your dance. Like, have a good time. And I was like, thanks. And that's it. But that's just
that's
what a
great.
nice
I
guy.
love that. Whoa. Demon's back.
Wow, that was crazy.
it's like the demon's wife. What a nice guy.
What a nice guy.
That Nelly.
Nelly is such a nice guy.
We love Nelly down in hell.
He was a nice guy.
He seems nice. He was, surprisingly, this episode is not about Nelly. I'll just say one last thing. He was performing at Casino Morongo a few years ago down near Palm Springs, and I legit almost went alone. Like, I could not find anyone to go with me, and I was like, I'll just drive to Casino Morongo for the night alone and see Nelly and just
That's like when Rob Thomas was playing there, and Amanda and I wanted him on the big one so bad that I was talking to his manager, and he was like,
wait, I remember this.
He was like, yeah, Rob's playing at Morongo, and I literally wrote back, I was like, we can go to Morongo and interview Rob there. Like, I was trying my hardest to get us to Morongo to see Rob Thomas and interview him. Like,
that sounds like the sequel to Get Him to the Greek.
I gotta get to Morongo to interview Rob Thomas.
Amanda and Maria get to go to Morongo.
I would die to interview Rob Thomas. I love Rob Thomas.
Oh, yeah, it'd be one of the hugest gets America's ever had.
Blasucci and Thomas.
Blasucci on
like
Thomas.
Nixon and what was it? Nixon and
Frost versus Nixon. Blasucci versus Thomas.
Frost versus Nixon. All right. Well, should we get into the actual episode?
Sure.
Or should we just keep shooting the shit? All right, Melissa, what's today about?
Well, today we're going to talk about a very tragic and high-profile case that hasn't necessarily been, quote-unquote, solved.
Sick.
But it definitely ruined the lives of everyone involved.
Well, I love that.
At least it did that. So in Florida in 2008, a 2-year-old child went missing. No one was able to verify her whereabouts for a month, and that's when her 22-year-old mother was arrested, and then this whole web of lies began.
Oof.
That's right. We're talking about the 2008 trial of Caylee Anthony.
Hell yes.
Dun,
I'm
dun,
so excited.
dun. So a little background for all you Gen Zers who didn't grow up in the Caylee Anthony era.
And surprisingly, me too. For some reason, I did not follow this case, and I still haven't really watched a lot of stuff on it. I don't know why. For some reason, I glazed over this case, so I'm really excited for you to educate me.
I was living in New York when this case happened, and I would go to my castings like earlier in the day just so I could get home in time to watch the trial.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Like, I watched it every day. It was my OJ.
How fun.
Well, I mean, OJ was my OJ, but...
Casey was also your Casey.
Casey was my OJ.
So in August 9th, 2005, Caylee Anthony was 19, and she gave birth to a daughter, Caylee Marie Anthony. And Casey actually lied about being pregnant to her family the whole time. And she apparently told her fiance it was his, but they didn't start dating until January. And she gave birth in August. So it was like, well, it's not the fiance. And she never said who the dad was. Like, never said it. But apparently she told a friend it was a one-night stand with a coworker, this guy named Josh, who was, quote unquote, really hot. But then he died in a car crash after Caylee's second birthday.
Oh, are the circumstances around the car crash mysterious at all, or was it like a legit car crash?
I think it was a legit car crash, but it's not even confirmed that this was the guy. Like, Casey was such a liar that, like, who knows if any of this is real.
Weird.
So then June 16th, 2008, Casey is at her parents' house for Father's Day, but the family has an argument, and then Casey leaves with her daughter, Caylee, and that's the last time she's seen alive, the daughter.
Oof.
And over the next month, Casey's mother, Cindy, asked repeatedly to see Caylee, but Casey claimed that she was too busy with work in Tampa, and then other times she said Caylee was with a nanny, who Casey identified by the name of Zanny Fernandez Gonzalez.
Zanny the nanny? All right.
Already suspect. So July 15th, 2008, a month after Caylee, the last time Caylee's been seen, the family car Caylee Anthony had been using was found abandoned in front of an Orlando, Florida cash advance business and towed away.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and when the towing company called Casey's parents, Cindy and George Anthony, they became concerned. Casey reportedly had told her mother that she was going on a mini vacation to Jacksonville, Florida, but then Cindy, her mom, later discovered that her daughter had been staying with a boyfriend. So she lied about, like, wherever she was going.
She's like a pathological liar.
Yeah, and so she abandoned this car. And so George picks up the car from this, like, tow truck place, and he is overwhelmed by the smell that's in the car, even after there was a bag of trash in the trunk, and he took it out and was like, oh, this must be what it was, but it still smelled bad. So Cindy tracks down her daughter, Casey, and she told her family and police that she had not even seen her daughter for a month. Casey's like, I haven't seen her for a month. And so Cindy, her mom, calls 911 and reports that Caylee's been missing for a month and demands Casey's arrest and says about the car, it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car. Like, she's on 911 saying, like, I haven't seen my granddaughter, arrest my daughter. The car smells like there's been a body in it.
Did Casey say that, like, her daughter had been with the dad, or was she just like, oh, I have no idea where my kid is. I haven't seen her in a month.
She said she was with the nanny. She's like, I don't know. The nanny took her. But, like, a month passed before Casey, like, did anything. God. So July 16th, the next day after her mom calls the 911, the police contact Casey. Wow, Casey. And she tells them that she dropped off Caylee at the babysitter's house, Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, but hasn't heard from them since. So she takes the police to an apartment that she claims is the nanny's, but the apartment is empty. And they found that no one had lived in the apartment for 5 months. It was this, like, abandoned apartment. And so the police were unable to track down Gonzalez or even determine whether or not she existed. Like, they didn't even know if this Zenaida person existed. And Casey's friends and family have never met this nanny. They don't know who this nanny is. And Casey also told the police that she was working at Universal Studios, a lie that she'd been telling her parents for years.
Oh my God.
So investigators brought Casey to Universal Studios on July 16th, the day after Caylee was reported missing, and asked her to show them her office. And so she led the police around for a while. Like, oh yeah, it's just down this hallway. It's just whatever. And then she finally admitted that she had been fired years before, that she didn't work there. She's like, actually, guys, I don't work here.
Trying to say that you work at like the office part of Universal Studios, like Casey, at the best, like you work at Bubba Gump's on the City Walk. Like,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Okay, so yes, no, there's nothing.
But she
wrong
was
with
only, she was 22.
that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you're not like running things down at Universal.
She wasn't like the head of like Minions. Like she wasn't like
Yeah,
The head of Minions.
yeah.
she didn't pitch Minions.
She wasn't Gru.
So the police arrest her for child neglect and giving false statements and obstruction of justice. Like she
Yeah.
like immediately just like fucked herself just by lying to the police, taking them on this wild goose chase.
Crazy. A rat race.
And then July 17th, the next day, the officers search Casey's car and a cadaver dog picks up the scent of human decomposition.
Ooh.
Not good. And then a month later, on August 17th, a veteran bounty hunter with his own reality TV show.
Was it?
No, it wasn't Dog, the bounty hunter.
Remember this movie? My name is Domino Harvey, and I'm a bounty hunter.
Ew.
No, I don't.
Yes, I remember.
My name is Domino Harvey, and I am a bounty hunter.
Who played Domino?
Keira Knightley.
My name is Domino Hunter, and I'm a bounty hunter.
No, Harvey,
Nope.
not Domino Hunter. My name is Domino Hunter, and I'm a bounty Harvey.
That sounded wrong in my head. Why does it rhyme so much?
And I'm
My name is Domino Hobby, and I'm a bounty hobby. So this bounty hunter, Leonard Padilla, claimed he had been contacted by Caylee Anthony and would post her bond of $500,000.
Huh.
Yeah, weird. And then 10 days later, August 27th, authorities say an air sample test from Casey's car indicate that there were human remains in the trunk and in the backyard of their house, of the Casey family house.
Okay, that's crazy. I've never heard of an air sample test. That's pretty crazy. You can do that. I didn't even
They
realize
just
that was
took
a
an air
test you
sample
could do.
test at our house here to check to see if all the mold was
bodies.
gone.
Well, yeah, I knew you could do a mold test, but I didn't realize like you could sample the air for if there's been like a dead body around.
I'm sure a gas emits from a dead body that you can pick up in an air sample, right?
Ew. Just breathing in dead body gas. That's
Yeah.
gross. Okay, so August 30th, Casey's bond is revoked and she returns to jail on new charges. She stole more than $700 in checks from a friend.
Oh my God.
Like forged
She is
checks.
such a problem.
She's really problematic. Caylee Anthony,
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. Caylee Anthony's problematic.
Wow.
You can quote me.
Hot take. Hot take Siegel over here. So then a month later, September 25th, Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, the woman Casey reportedly named as a suspect in the case of her missing daughter, denied any involvement in the case. They found a woman named Zenaida
Oh.
Fernandez Gonzalez. She's a real person. And she was like, I don't know who Caylee Anthony is. I'm not a nanny. I don't know what's going on.
I work at Universal Studios.
Okay, do you want to see my office? And she was cleared by the police. But because of this trial, she said she lost her job and she can't find an apartment, and she
No. Oh
received
my God.
threats from Caylee Anthony's supporters.
Holy
Which
shit.
Caylee Anthony's supporters?
Psychotic.
So Zanny the nanny, it was code for Xanax. Everyone knew that
Shut
Zanny
up.
the nanny was code for Xanax. And so Casey apparently looked up names for Zenaida in the phone book and gave that info to police.
Wait, so what do you mean it was code for Xanax? Like when she would take Xanax, she'd be like, oh, like,
Or if she would give Caylee Xanax. Like she's
Oh,
asleep. You know, she's with
Jesus.
Zanny
Oh,
the nanny.
Jesus.
Like if you give kids Benadryl or like so she could go out and her kid would be sleeping through the night. Or I don't know if it was Casey taking, I've heard it both ways, like Casey taking Xanax or Caylee, giving Caylee Xanax.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's fucked. So then a month after that, October 14th, a grand jury indicts Casey on capital murder and other charges. She pleads not guilty. And then 10 days after that, the forensic analysis from the trunk shows that the hair, some hairs that were in there matches Caylee's hair. They were microscopically similar to those found on Caylee's brush and showed characteristics of apparent decomposition.
Oh, that's not good. So they were post-mortem.
I have a
hairs.
question.
Yeah.
Did Zenaida say like, "Oh yeah, my friends call me Zanny," or because that would be crazy if she like looked up Z names and she's like, "Oh, it's this woman Zan," because she said, "I get Zanny the nanny." Well, who's Zanny? It's Zenaida. And then they talk to Zenaida and they're like, "Are you Zanny?" And she's like, "Am I what? No one's ever called me Zanny in my life." Like, is that how that went down? Do you think, or do you think she actually?
Oh, I wonder. I bet it is.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Yeah, or maybe or she's like, I don't know who Caylee Anthony is. I don't know. Maybe her friends did call her Zanny. I don't know. Maybe that's like a common nickname for Zenaida, but.
Wow. She says she met Zanny at Universal Studios in 2006 through a mutual friend. It's so sad that
Oh my God, I was just making a joke.
It's so sad that her whole life revolves around Universal Studios.
Yeah, why is she so obsessed? That's so weird.
She just lives in Orlando.
I mean,
And
I guess that's
a
why.
lot of people work there, apparently.
Yeah.
And then finally, Caylee's body is found. So December, which is 6 months after she went missing, skeletal remains were found. The bones are found in a bag in a wooded area less than a half mile from Anthony's home by a utility worker named Ray Kronk. And it's later revealed that Ray Kronk actually called the police 3 times in August to report a suspicious object. In the first instance, he was directed by the sheriff's office to call the tip line, which he did, and he received no return call. This was a month after Caylee went missing. He's like, yeah, I see this weird thing in the woods. Maybe you guys should check it out. No one paid attention to him. Then he called again and eventually was met by 2 police officers and reported to them that what he had seen appeared to be a skull near a gray bag. And the officer said he conducted a search and said that he didn't see anything.
Ugh.
And it wasn't until he called them again 4 months later on December 11th that they finally found the remains. I bet the police didn't even go out there the second time. They were like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Honestly, good for Ray, though, because it takes citizens like him who are really diligent of being like, no, something's wrong here. Most people wouldn't even call, and then other people would call once and just be like, I did my due diligence, whatever.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to do. Good job, Ray.
The fucking police. Crazy that they just they're looking for a dead body, a girl's missing, and they don't even call him back.
Right.
Just because they're so lazy.
I'm going to see if Ray is single and or hot. Oh my God, Ray Kronk's ex-wife. I thought that he probably killed Caylee.
Oh my God, just your type,
no.
Allie.
I know. Ooh, I love a bad boy.
Uh-oh.
He's not cute, unfortunately. All right, well, that's a dead end. No pun intended.
But
All right,
the
keep
wife
going.
thought he did it? Jeez Louise.
Yeah, the wife
Yeah,
thought he did it.
well, he found the body, so of course people are like, well, maybe he did it.
But why would he keep calling unless he really wanted to be?
Exactly. So then a week after the body's found, the authorities announced that the remains had been identified as Caylee Anthony. And the bones showed no evidence of trauma, and the death is being ruled a homicide of undetermined means.
Huh.
But the skull is found with duct tape around the nose, mouth, and jaw.
So she was probably suffocated.
Yeah, and the advanced state of decomposition ultimately prevents investigators from pinpointing an exact cause and date of death. So they're they don't know exactly how she died or the exact date. A month after that, January 23rd, 2009, Casey's dad, George, attempted suicide.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
He was found at a Daytona hotel. He drank alcohol and he took pills. He left a 5-page suicide note because he was just so stressed out over this whole thing.
Yeah.
And the police were able to track down George's location through his cell phone, which he used to send text messages to his family saying that he didn't want to live anymore. And he had a picture of Caylee with him.
To be honest, though, like imagine if you had a kid and she grew up to be like this insane pathological liar who ended up killing her own child and like your granddaughter who you probably love more than anything. Like I would be so emotionally devastated. My God.
Yeah. And so then in April 2009, the prosecutors say that they will seek the death penalty, reversing an earlier decision to not pursue capital punishment. So they changed it and they're like, well, we want the death penalty on this because there's a dead body and she for sure did it. So then the trial began 2 years later in 2011.
And she was bailed out or they revoked the bail. So she was
she was bailed out initially by not the dog bounty hunter, but the other guy. But then she had to come back in because of those checks.
Got it. So she was in jail for these 2 years.
She was in jail, yeah. The prosecutors stated that Casey used chloroform to render her daughter unconscious before putting duct tape over her nose and mouth to suffocate her.
Jesus.
And left Caylee's body in the trunk of her car for a few days before disposing of it. And they characterized Casey as this party girl who killed her daughter to free herself from being a parent and enjoy her personal life. And Casey got a tattoo 2 weeks after Caylee went missing. The tattoo said Bella Vita, which means a beautiful life. And then
That's sick.
And then Casey entered a hot body contest at a bar 4 days after Caylee went missing.
Did she win?
You know, I don't know. There's pictures online of her like dancing on a bar in a bikini 4 days after her daughter went missing.
Jeez. I mean, it's so obvious that she was probably some like deranged, like addict or like mentally, I don't want to say mentally ill, but like had some sort of, issue and like just didn't want to be a mom anymore. Like it's crazy.
Casey's attorney, Jose Baez, his opening statement claims that Caylee drowned in the family pool and that George covered up the accidental death because he didn't want his daughter to go to jail for life for child neglect. And so Baez argued that this is why Caylee Anthony went on with her life and failed to report the incident for 31 days. And they also alleged that George and her brother Lee had molested Casey, thereby igniting this habit of lying to cover up the pain. And that Roy Kronk, the utility worker, had found Caylee's body and planted it in the woods. Like they were all in cahoots.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure everyone in this town is against Caylee Anthony. It's like the Truman Show. What a freak.
Yeah. Well, this guy's a freak. And so then May 27th, a witness offers his theory about the smell in Casey's car. So Simon Birch, the manager of the towing company.
No, Allie. I know what Allie's thinking.
What?
She's thinking it's Simon Birch, the little kid in the movie.
Wait, what movie?
That's the... Oh my God, you've never
Simon
seen
Birch.
Simon Birch? It's the saddest.
No, what's
movie.
Simon
It's about
Birch?
a little kid. This is Joe never knew his father and his mother is keeping her lips sealed no matter how much he protests. Simon, meanwhile, is an 11-year-old dwarf whose outsized personality belies his small stature. Indeed, he often assails the local reverend with thorny theological questions and joins Joe on his quest to find his biological father.
Okay, yes, I have heard of this movie. I've never seen it.
Don't. It's so sad.
It wasn't Simon Birch from the movie.
So it was not that. I just want our listeners should know that distinction so they don't get confused.
This Simon Birch was a manager of a towing company.
Okay, different Simon Birch. Thank you.
Different Simon Birch. Okay, continue.
He testified that he had encountered multiple vehicles with dead bodies during his 3 decades in the business, and that it's Florida, which makes sense.
That's true.
And that the smell from Casey's car was consistent with those past experiences of smelling dead bodies in cars.
Oh my God.
So like he recognized the smell. He's like, oh, this is dead body smell. And then June 6th, a forensics expert takes the stand. He explains how the shockingly high amount of chloroform, which is a chemical released by decomposition. Oh, okay. So that's what's released from the body.
So that's what they did. Yeah.
As well as the one that can be used to knock someone unconscious, detected in the car trunk, led to his conclusion that a dead body was indeed present.
Uh-oh.
However, his testimony is contradicted the following day by an FBI scientist who compares the chloroform level in the trunk to the amount found in household cleaners. He's like, it could have been a bottle of, bleach or whatever, but like
She doesn't seem like the type to be cleaning out her car.
Tell me about it.
no. Yeah, she doesn't clean her car. She's got like McDonald's wrappers. In the
Yeah,
back.
that's what I was seeing too. I was seeing McDonald's wrappers and you know, like that like musty smell in cars, and then there's like crumbs in the seats.
Yeah, it looks like my car.
Yeah, empty
Yeah.
cans of
Like tons
wa-
of water
half water
bottles, like all the weird
some random
books.
clothes
And like
in the
CDs,
backseat.
like just CDs
Clothing.
strewn about.
Yeah.
CD, like broken
Yeah.
CDs, ones that are all
Yeah.
scratched up.
And like a
Dollar bills.
like a CD case, but there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maria, did you just turn off your
Interesting.
video?
Whatever's happening to Maria is pretty interesting.
Here I am.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Well, on that note, we should probably take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Web Crawlers has a Patreon to get access to rewards, bonus episodes, shout outs, merch discounts, etc. Ad-free episodes too, and videos, weekly tarot card reads that I've been a little bit inconsistent about. Please go to patreon.com/webcrawlers. You can donate as little as $2 a month or just do one flat fee for the year. So $20 and you're done to become one of our bimbo patrons. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Additionally, we have a hotline. If you would like to leave a voicemail for our mailbag episodes, please call this number.
626-604-6262.
Okay, and we're back. So June 8th, this is the Google search thing. So a software designer testifies that someone had searched for chloroform a whopping 84 times and also looked up such terms as neck breaking, head injuries, ruptured spleen, chest trauma, and internal bleeding on the Anthony's home computer in March 2008.
To be honest, though, I feel like I Google all those things like when I sneeze once. I'm such a
Yeah.
hypochondriac.
I've Googled FBI list shit. Like I'm on an FBI list.
And this was did anyone use her computer? Was it only her?
It was the family's computer. It was
Right.
in George and Cindy's house.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So like and Casey was there all the time. I think she maybe lived there at some point, or like Kay lived there. And so the software designer later reports there was an error in his detecting software. It determines that the user visited a site related to chloroform only once. So like they looked up chloroform, but it wasn't as many times as he had initially thought. And so the investigators reportedly found records showing that Casey visited missing children websites months before her 3-year-old disappeared,
That's weird.
which is strange. And then she also reportedly searched for the name Fernandez Gonzalez.
That's also weird.
So that's interesting. In June 23rd, 2011, Cindy refutes previous testimony. So Cindy claims, the mom, she was the one who researched chloroform on her computer. She was like, oh no, I looked up those terms.
What?
Yeah, the prosecution alleged that only Casey could have conducted the search because she was the only one home at the time.
Huh.
Because the time that these searches happened, it was when George and Cindy were apparently at work. And so when asked by the prosecutors how she could have made the internet searches when employment records show that she was at work, Cindy said despite what her work time she indicates, she was at home during these time periods because she left from work early during the days in question.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, she also testifies that a stain found in the trunk, allegedly caused by Caylee's decomposing body, was there when the family purchased the car 8 years earlier. Like Cindy was like, oh, no, that stain was there.
We bought the body with we bought the car
Yeah.
with the body in it.
So that was like, it just came out of nowhere that like her mom was like, oh, no, that was me. Like she was clearly trying to cover up for her daughter. And then Casey's brother Lee said that when he asked his sister where Caylee was, she said the girl was with the nanny. And it was only when Cindy Anthony threatened to call the police that Casey admitted that she had not seen her daughter in more than a month. It was. She apparently said, do you want to know the truth? I haven't seen Caylee in 31 days. According to her brother.
So what
fucking weird.
I can't even ask questions because I know there's not going to be any rational response. But like when someone was like, well, why didn't you care that your daughter was missing? Did she ever say anything? Or was she just like, oh, I thought she'd come back?
they said that the daughter drowned. The brother, I don't know, the brother didn't know. And so she was pretending that life was normal because she didn't. Her dad was like, pretend like everything's normal.
Smart.
That was their defense.
The Anthony family is the worst.
They're terrible. So then the sheriff's deputy, an instant message is sent to a former boyfriend, a former sheriff's deputy who was fired over his relationship with Caylee Anthony. So a former sheriff's deputy was like texting, had a relationship with Caylee. Like she was texting with him. She was complaining about how difficult it was to be a single mother. And she once referred to Caylee as a little snothead.
Oh my God.
I feel, okay, so like that though, like I don't think that implicates murder. Like imagine if you were a parent, like I would call my kid like a little shit to like you guys. Like if we were texting, I'd be like, the little shit's being so loud right now. Hold on.
I like
you know
how
what I
And
mean?
then I would call the police. I'd call CPS. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us that.
I like how in your imagination of your future child, you're already saying like, and I'm calling my kid a little shit to you guys.
It's all shit. My kid's going to be a piece of shit.
My kid's going to be the shittiest.
Recorded. This conversation's been recorded. And she also texted, seriously, spending the day with Caylee is 10 times more exhausting than working a 12-hour event.
I mean, this is all true stuff about kids.
I mean, welcome to being a mom.
Yeah. It's wine o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, it's wine o'clock somewhere. So April 6, 2010, an inmate told People Caylee said that in jail, she used to knock out Caylee, perhaps with some sort of sedative so she could go out at night.
Oh, Jesus.
And the inmate also claimed Caylee knew details about her daughter's remains before police said they were made public. So Caylee was in jail immediately when she got arrested, like talking to this other inmate. And this inmate was like, yeah, she was talking about her daughter's remains before the body was even found.
God.
So this inmate was a snitch.
But when it's about a kid, I get, yeah, when it's about a child murder, I'd say.
When it's about a dead kid,
I guess we could snitch. Yeah.
it's an exception. And then Casey's dad, George, apparently had an affair. So the defense called Crystal Holloway, a volunteer in the search for Caylee, who stated that she had an affair with George Anthony that had been to her home and that he had texted her. The text said, just thinking about you, I need you in my life.
My God.
And she told the defense that George Anthony had told her that Caylee's death was an accident that snowballed out of control.
Weird.
So under cross-examination by the prosecutors, they pointed to her sworn police statement in which she had said that George Anthony believed it was an accident. And so in her testimony, George denied the affair with Holloway and said he visited her only because she was ill. So, like, he was for sure flirting with this woman.
But also, like, he also seems involved in it. This is partially why I don't believe, I mean, I don't, period, believe in the death penalty. But, like, you can't just, I mean, obviously, like, Caylee had something to do with it. But, like, it seems like George did, too. Like, it's not a cut and dry case.
The text was like George thought it was an accident that snowballed out of control. Like, he thinks it was something happened with Caylee and like she tried to cover it up or something. Who knows? Family is nuts. So on July 3rd, 2011, they had the closing arguments. Continuing with the narrative that Caylee was overly burdened by Caylee, the lead prosecutor, Jeff Ashton, emphasized to the jury how the young mother was motivated enough to go to extremes to achieve her freedom. Something needed to be sacrificed. That something was either the life she wanted or the life thrust upon her. She chose to sacrifice her child. And then Jose Baez delivers a pretty effective closing argument by pointing out the lack of evidence that could definitively place Caylee's body in the trunk or tie Caylee to her daughter's death, which is true.
Yeah.
Not enough evidence. Like, it's all circumstantial evidence, which does not hold up in a court of law. And so the verdict came in July 5th. The 7 women and 5 men of the jury deliberate for 10 hours and 40 minutes, which is not that long. less than a day.
Yeah.
And they came back with a verdict of not guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and aggravated manslaughter. She is found guilty of 4 misdemeanor counts of providing false information to law enforcement.
Yeah.
So she is sentenced to 4 years in jail with credit for time served. She's also fined $1,000 for each count, and she was released from jail on July 17th, 12 days after the final verdict.
Interesting.
August 11th, a month after the verdict came in, a report is released by Florida's Department of Children and Families concluding that Anthony is responsible for the death of her daughter. The report says the actions or the lack of actions by the alleged perpetrator ultimately resulted or contributed in the death of the child. But that means nothing though. Unless she's convicted in a court, it means nothing. So then September 15, 2011, Judge Perry rules that Casey owes authorities nearly $98,000 for the cost of investigating Caylee's disappearance. And then days later, he orders her to pay an additional $119,000 to the police, bringing the total more than $217,000. She has to reimburse them for all of these search efforts. June 12th, 2012, in an exclusive interview with CNN, Casey tells Piers Morgan that she didn't kill Caylee and says, "I've never been a party girl. I don't drink now. I've probably had a handful of beers since I've been on probation. The caricature of me that is out there, it couldn't be further from the truth." Yeah,
if you Google image her, there's tons of photos of her partying and topless.
Yeah.
And dancing on bars.
Yeah, she's a liar.
And then a year after that, an appeals court throws out 2 of Casey's convictions for providing false information to law enforcement. And then the same day as the ruling, she files for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection.
Yikes.
She claims to have lost almost $800,000 in liabilities, and she only owns $1,000 in assets, including cash on hand. Do you guys remember Nancy Grace covering this?
Yeah, I don't remember her covering. Well, I just remember Nancy Grace in general being a.
She was also on Dancing with the Stars.
Nancy Grace was?
Oh my God,
Yes,
really?
Of course. I watched that season. It was so good.
Remember her calling her Tot Mom? That was her name. Tot Mom.
She has huge boobs.
Nancy Grace does?
Yeah, I'll send this pic to the group chat.
I used to have such a crush on her dancing partner. And then he's not on the show anymore.
I have never watched Dancing with the Stars. Should I get into it?
It's actually really fun. I'm not joking. It's fun.
Got really into it. I started taking dance classes at the places they rehearse.
Well, that's insane.
I did. I took a swing dance class by myself.
Wow. But I remember Nancy Grace, I used to think she was just this dumb bitch, sensationalist journalist. I think the reason she got into this, I can't remember if she lost her daughter or
her fiance died, was murdered.
Oh, I think that's what it was.
My fiance's 1979 murder fuels my career.
That's what it was.
She also got COVID. Nancy Grace, her twin children, husband, and mom test positive for COVID.
Well, that's too bad. So the only good thing about this case is that it sparked Caylee's law, which requires that if your child is missing for a certain amount of days, you have to report it missing. It's a requirement by law.
That's crazy that wasn't already a requirement or just common sense.
Yeah, I guess because no one hasn't done that or so, or is not a popular thing to do, but you have to report your child missing if it's gone for more than 24 hours or something. So then in 2012, this television program in Orlando reported that the police never investigated the Firefox browser evidence on Casey's computer. They only looked at Internet Explorer.
That's so dated. That's so funny.
I know.
They only looked at Netscape and not...
Yeah, they didn't look at... And so the browser history showed that someone at the Anthony household using a password protected account that Casey used did a Firefox Google search for foolproof suffocation.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. They clicked on a website that had ideas of committing suicide by taking poison and putting a plastic bag over one's head to suffocate it. This was obviously Casey searching these. And then in 2016, 2 affidavits of private investigator Dominic Casey were filed in the matter of Kronk versus Anthony, Roy Kronk. And so in one affidavit, Dominic Casey stated that on July 26, 2008, Baez admitted to him that Caylee Anthony murdered Caylee and dumped the body somewhere, and that he needed all the help he could get to find the body before anyone else did.
Oh my God.
He also claimed that Jose Baez had a sexual relationship with Caylee, and that Caylee told me she had to do what Jose said because she had no money for her defense. But Jose Baez vehemently denied a sexual relationship.
Jeez.
So then in 2016, Caylee Anthony opened a photography studio but shut it down. And then 2018, she got the tattoo covered up. The Bella Vita tattoo covered up.
Oh, really?
And then in 2018, she worked as an assistant to private detective Patrick McKenna, who was on her defense team. And she also lives in his house. And he was also the lead investigator for OJ.
Okay, well, they're fucking.
And apparently she doesn't talk to her parents. Because, if my kid did this, I wouldn't talk to them.
Yeah.
And then the most recent update was December 30th, 2020. She filed paperwork to open a private investigation company in West Palm Beach, Case Research and Consulting Services, which we mentioned.
And the only reason she's opening it is because of the name.
Yes. And the address listed for the company belongs to Patrick McKenna, the private detective.
This is so weird.
So she's apparently still living with this guy.
She just needs to start an OnlyFans and call it a day. She would make so much money. I mean, I wish nothing well upon this person, but what a nut job. I mean, this is crazy. She obviously killed her kid, and somehow her dad probably helped her and then felt so guilty that he ended up wanting to commit suicide. And I mean, this is bonkers. This poor little girl.
Yeah, I think she killed Caylee herself. I don't know if the dad has anything to do with it. Maybe, I don't know. But I think it's totally possible that she just decided to kill Caylee, put her in the trunk, and was like, fuck it. And then just jumped her body in the side of the road and was like, okay, bye. I think she's totally capable of just doing that herself.
Yeah, it's devastating. Well, thank God for this Caylee's Law.
Yeah. So that is the case of Caylee Anthony.
Yeah. If you guys have your own theories or, your own thoughts, anything like that, where can people reach us, Melissa?
You can email us at webcrawlerspod@gmail.com. Or if you live in Florida or West Palm Beach, if you know Caylee, let us know.
Yeah, or if you've been to the Bubba Gumps on Universal City Walk, please just keep us informed. Also, another note is our web store is having a sale and we are dropping new merch. So if you're interested, stop by there, webcrawlerspod.com or hothorse.horse if you're nasty. Anyways, I am Allie Hot Take Siegel.
I am Melissa Tot Mom Stetton.
And I'm producer Maria Minion Blasucci.
Love it.
Great.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
An Erios original.
Powered by Acast.